All right, yeah, we're shifting our focus to Ukraine, the war-torn country. It's now 20 days on of Russian assault on Ukraine.
This
But
is
continues. It is the capital city of
Here in
Kyiv, where we
Kyiv,
see
a
Russian
residential
forces
block,
encircling the capital city. Kyiv, that's now come under attack. Russia has stepped up its offensive on Kyiv. India Today is the only channel reporting from ground zero, that war-torn zone. India Today's contributor Rajesh Pawar is currently in Kyiv, capturing the full extent of the Russian attack and its destruction. Today, a residential block inside Kyiv was bombed. Huge plumes of smoke were seen coming out of this building. This is Kyiv, the capital city that so long had peace, at least for the last 8 days. It now seems to have attacks have started in that capital city. We see residential buildings now coming under target of Russian forces. This residential block in Kyiv has been bombed.
This is Shivatonsky district here in Kyiv. This is Shivatonsky district here in Kyiv. A residential block has just been hit. Smoke emanating from everywhere. Fire tenders are working to. This is a building behind me which has been bombed just a few minutes back, and fire tenders are everywhere trying to douse the fire. It's a residential block inside the Kyiv city which has been hit just now.
All right, let me quickly cut across to Rajesh Pawar, who's contributing to India Today's factual reportage. Rajesh, we see that a bomb has blasted one of those residential blocks in Kyiv. You and your report suggested over the last 8 days, Kyiv did not see any kind of shelling or attack. But now, as this war enters day 20, we see large-scale destruction that has already started off from that residential building. A residential building block has been bombarded. Do show us what's behind you.
See, there was a bomb blast. There were 2 blasts yesterday as well. You can see fire there. This tender has been working for last 2 hours, but still a lot of apartment blocks are still burning. If you can see the fire there, and this is a fire tender working here, but still there is fire. It's been burning for last 2.5 hours since it was struck by a missile in the morning today at 4:30 to 5 local time.
Right. Rajesh, what's the situation there? Have civilians fled from those areas? Residential buildings have now become targets. Russia has been claiming constantly that civilians are not their target. But yet we see residential buildings being constantly attacked in several parts of Ukraine. This one, right in the capital city of Kyiv, a residential block has been bombed.
You're absolutely right. yesterday I had reported from Oblon, an area right in the heart of the city, which was with the residential block was bombed. And today here, this building in the Kadmia district, again, a residential block, the complete building has been destroyed. And there was another blast, which I saw just before this. It was in the middle of a road. Nearby buildings were damaged, but it fell on a broad road, so not much casualties. But here, I believe, few people have died, and a lot of them were injured. And but that's the situation here right now.
Right. Rajesh, we want to get an understanding as to how far are the Russian forces from Kyiv. We know that they've encircled Kyiv on day 20 of this war. Russian forces have managed to align all around the capital city of Kyiv. They've encircled their target number 1.
Yes, Russian forces are still a little far away. I mean, the nearest advance which they have made towards Kyiv, they are still about 12 to 13 kilometers away. But now the whole Kyiv city is within the artillery range of the medium artillery and the multi-barrel rocket launchers, which Russian forces have. The entire city is within their range now. They can fire at will anywhere on any building in Kyiv city. Over to you.
Right. What are the casualties, Rajesh? If you can give us an understanding on the number of people who have injured and who have been killed in this bombing on a residential building. And where is this residential building located? Is it right in the center of the city? Were there people there at that time of this bombing?
See, this is not in the center of the city. It is like about 10 kilometers away from the city center. But it is quite close to Irpin, where the fighting was taking place, and maybe just about 10 kilometers from the front lines and 10 kilometers from the center. You can take it that way. And this is Akademia district. It's difficult for me to pronounce it right now, but Akademia district, which is named the place where it is, and it's a fully residential area. Only residential buildings in this whole area. No military establishment, no establishment of any strategic importance or any communication center. And this bomb has hit a totally, completely residential sector inside the Kyiv city today morning around 4:30 to 5 local time.
You know, Rajesh, this comes even as Russia has been constantly claiming, and you've said that as well, that their target is not civilian establishments, that they do not want to target civilians. And of course, Ukraine has been falsely claiming that civilians are under attack. But today's bombing on a residential building in Kyiv really speaks of a different story.
I agree with you. I mean, they have constantly claimed that they are not doing it. They're not targeting any kind of residential complexes. They're not targeting civilians. And yesterday we saw in Oblon, entire apartment block blown away and burning. And same story now today in the morning. And when I was recording it, there were two blasts again went off very close. They might be in the city or they might be between Irpin and Kyiv. But huge two blasts were heard when I was recording this story for India Today. Over to you.
Rajesh, if you can give us some understanding on the talks between the two countries. Just yesterday, we know that there was some headway in the talks. 10 humanitarian corridors were agreed upon for evacuation to take place. Today, what's the development on that front? Any word of progress?
See, both the countries have agreed to talk on a daily basis through virtual meetings. So they have both agreed that they will continue to talk regularly on a daily basis through these virtual meetings till the time they meet face to face for the next round of talks. But till then, there will be meetings every day to coordinate humanitarian corridors and to try to make some kind of progress in these talks. So this is the information from both, confirmed from both the governments, that every day virtual meetings will be taking place between the representatives of Ukraine and Russia. Over to you.
Right, Rajesh, we know that this is very risky for you to show us what's around. We know that the military there has been keeping a hawk eye on anyone taking videos and capturing what's happening there. But is there a possibility that you can show us one more time what's behind you? We really want to see the scale of devastation that Kyiv has witnessed.
See, here it's not a problem. Whenever there's a registered block hit or something like this, they allow the press. And it's not only me alone. There are 5 to 6 press people from 5 to 6 different countries. And they are allowing it. It's not a problem here now to show it around. Look, there's still fire burning. Despite of fire tender working so hard for last 3 hours now, it's still burning. It is still burning.
Is that building, and were there people at that time, Rajesh?
Most of the building was unoccupied, but there were few people inside. I tried to interview a person. He doesn't speak English at all. So, but he told me that he was inside the building. He was on the 2nd floor when this thing hit. And I think the impact was in the middle of the building. So he is safe. He did not get injured and he ran away. But not many people were living in the building when this thing hit the building. The building was almost virtually unoccupied.
All right. From what we see, that building is entirely charred. How many hours ago that this blast took place, Rajesh?
This thing happened somewhere between 4:30 and 5 in the morning, local time. As I reported in the morning, I got up in the morning. I woke up because I heard this very loud blast very close to me. And that was 4:30 to 5 in the morning. And these fire tenders have been working for last 3 hours now, trying to douse the fire, which is this missile has put this building on.
Right. You know, Rajesh, I want to know what was the intention while this building was bombed? Do you believe that this was a deliberate target? This residential building was a deliberate target of the Russian forces?
Look, I will not say that it would be probably deliberate. It would be deliberate only in case they had a substantial information that some kind of militia or maybe military personnel are using this building. They are housed inside this building. That would be a deliberate reason to hit it. Otherwise, it could be a mistake. It could be like technologies, despite of being so sophisticated today, there can be an error of few meters here and there, or maybe even bigger. So it could be by mistake that, or maybe because of lack of precision in the ammunition which was hitting it, or it could be deliberate if they had information that probably militia or foreign fighters or maybe the army people are housed inside this apartment block. Over to you.
Right, Rajesh, what's around that residential building? Are there more residential houses and buildings in that vicinity?
I'll show you around. I'll show you around. I'll show you around the building.
Please.
So this is where the building is. Now I can get the water on my because of this fire tender. So this is the area around. If you see, this is the area around.
Yeah, it's doesn't seem as a populated area. One building that we see has caught fire after the bombing, but seems like buildings itself are far away from each other, mostly. But are they all residential blocks?
This is entirely a residential district.
Okay.
Only residential buildings, nothing else here.
Which is why the question...
Only residential area.
Which is why
Purely
then the question that I ask again is, was this residential area a deliberate target? It can't be misfiring in a residential block altogether, can it?
Look, it's possible. Despite of, I said, advances we have made in technology, in weapon technologies, a weapon going haywire, a weapon not missing its target and falling a few meters, few hundred meters short or ahead of it is highly possible. And this is one possibility. And second possibility, I said, if they have deliberately targeted it, probably they had information that some kind of militia, military, or foreign fighters are hiding or are being housed in this apartment block. Over to you.
All right, you make a big claim, foreign fighters that could be fighting who are hiding inside those apartment blocks. What do you really mean? Do elaborate for us. Who are these foreign fighters? Have you seen instances of that?
See, I'm not saying hiding. I'm saying they were housed in this building. They are not hiding anymore. But as we see near the Poland border 2 days back, if you remember, Russia claimed 140 foreign fighters were killed in that attack very close to Polish border day before yesterday night, in which Ukraine claimed 35 civilians have died, whereas Russians said they have killed 140 foreign fighters undergoing training in that army training center very close to Polish border, just 18 miles from Polish border.
When you say foreign fighters, where are they from?
They are, most of them are from Georgia and US, but a lot of them are from Europe and as well as from Chechnya and places
they've
like
been
that.
deployed by who, Rajesh?
Say again?
They've been deployed by who? These foreign fighters have come together under whose orders?
See, President Zelenskyy had made a general appeal a week back in inviting foreign fighters from all over the world to fight alongside Ukrainian army against the Russians. And a lot of people paid heed to this call, and a lot of mercenaries and people who really believe in this cause maybe have come forward and now recruiting in large numbers are enrolling themselves for this foreign legion which Ukrainian army has created.
All right, Rajesh, I really request you to stay with us and really appreciate you risking your life there on ground, and you're bringing us those factual developments as it unfolds in the war-torn country of Ukraine. Rajesh himself, in fact, spoke to some of those residents right in the vicinity while that bombing took place. Here's what they said.
What time it happened? What time did the explosion took place? 4, 5 in the morning? Okay, but you okay? ये अंग्रेजी नहीं बोल पा रहे हैं, नहीं समझ पा रहे हैं, लेकिन इनका घर तबाह हुआ और ये बिल्डिंग में उस वक्त थे, मैंने इनसे बात की है। इन्होंने बताया कि बिल्डिंग के अंदर थे जब धमाका हुआ इतना बड़ा और ये भाग के निकले, लेकिन ये सुरक्षित है। लेकिन बिल्डिंग अभी भी जल रही है, अभी भी आग की लपटें देखी जा सकती है और ये और फायर हुए हैं, 2 और बम धमाके अभी हुए हैं, शायद कीव शहर के अंदर ही हुए हैं, काफी पास में हैं जो इस वक्त हुए हैं।
All right, there Rajesh has been getting us some voices there from the war-torn country of Ukraine, Kyiv, that capital city, which so far did not face attacks. It appears now has come under severe fire. There's a blast that's been reported in a residential building. The smoke that you see billowing from that building is a residential area. Contrary to all that claims that Russia has been making, that they are not targeting civilians or civilian establishments, here speaks of a very different story. What we see here on your screens is a residential building that's been completely bombed. According to our contributor here, Rajesh, he's said there are hardly any people inside that building. There were few residents, but it was otherwise an empty building. Most of who were there have already fled from that area. So was this a real deliberate attempt to attack that residential area, or was it misfiring? That's something that needs to be established. Rajesh, of course, bringing us more insights from that spot. Rajesh, what the visuals that we see here are scary. You said 8 to 9 days now since there was any kind of attack on Kyiv. Residents may have felt slightly comfortable in the last few days, but here again unrest prevails.
Very true. Now the real fear has set in because yesterday, as I showed in the Oblon, a complete residential block was obliterated. It was similar scene seen in Oblon, which is one of the upscale areas of Kyiv city, right in the center, not center, but right in the inside the city, much inside from the outskirts, from the suburbs. And this area too is inside the Kyiv city now. Now city is being hit because the Russian forces on this side. See, this is on the northwest part of the city, and this is very close to Irpin, where the fighting was taking place. And it appears that Irpin has been more or less now under control of Russian forces. And the 62-kilometer long convoy we have been talking all along, it has artillery elements into it. It has multi-barrel rocket launchers, and now whole Kyiv city is within their range, and they can fire at will, and they can destroy any part of Kyiv they want at this junction when we're talking right now.
You know, Rajesh, we'd like to get a sense from you. When you say that they're prepared, they're fully armed, they're heavily deployed, how soon do you think Russia will manage to make their way into the capital city of Kyiv? Because if Kyiv is captured, then one can assume that Ukraine itself is a victory for Russia.
See, as the ground offensive of Kyiv is concerned, it will still take some time, I think, because they need to clear the access, because logistics is a very important element of war. The soldiers or the tanks or the armored vehicles, they cannot fight till the time they have logistic support. By logistic support, I mean water, food, rations, clothing, spare parts, fuel, ammunition. All this has to fetch up along with the fighting troops, fighting tanks. Till the time it doesn't happen, they cannot launch a full-scale offensive on a megapolis like Kyiv, and that will still take time. In my military assessment, it will still take some more days before a full-fledged ground offensive is launched against Kyiv. And at the same time, we must remember talks are still going on, and neither Russia nor Ukraine want this beautiful city to be leveled to ground, does not want it to be destroyed totally. So I feel it is still a few days away before this thing happens. Over to you.
No, but, you know, Rajesh, when you say it's still a few days away, what's really stopping the Russian forces? It's not like they're not heavily armed. It's not like they've got good and great deployment when it comes to numbers. They're a huge force, a massive military deployment. We know that's already managed to fan themselves all around Kyiv. What's stopping them from approaching the capital city faster than they are?
See, there has been stiff resistance from the Ukrainian forces, be it in the northwest, which is Irpin, Gostomel, Bucha, that side, be it northeast in Brovary and all. They have faced stiff resistance from both sides. And because of this, their progress in both the directions have been quite slow, because there are heavily built up areas. Any army in the world, be it Americans, be it Russians, anyone, it takes a lot of time when you are going through a built up area, and you cannot risk too many people dying, because if you go whole hog into these areas, you will have tremendous amount of casualties. No army can afford that today, and there will be tremendous amount of collateral damage. That also in present scenario, in 21st century, no army can afford to have that blot on their name that they have killed so many civilians in an offensive. So these are the factors which have slowed down their advance in both the directions. And till the time these two axes are not cleared completely and secured by the Russian forces, they cannot launch, it's not possible for them to launch a full-scale ground offensive against Kyiv. Over to you.
All right, Rajesh, I really request you to please stay safe. We know that any time now, the Russian forces can inch closer to the capital city of Ukraine. They're already ready, gearing to go all around the capital city, but it seems like they've been faced with stiff resistance from Ukrainian forces, something that they may not have expected. And this is, of course, brought in a lot of criticism to Russia as well. They expected to approach Ukraine in those capital city sooner. But this resistance from Ukraine is something that's really stopped them short on their tracks. Thank you very much, Rajesh. I'm going to come back to you on the other side of a short break. Stay with us.